Welcome to today's episode of the semi-nomadic family. Are you laughing at me?
Yeah, because...
That took 1 second. Welcome to today's episode of the semi-nomadic family. And just as a reminder, this is the episode structure that we use when we just kind of sit and talk about various aspects of our semi-nomadic lifestyle. So this is a bit of a break from our Devouring Destinations episodes, our Crashing Countries episodes, the stuff that's more visual and on location as a general rule. But these are really cool for anybody else out there, any family who's looking for inspiration or information or behind the scenes thoughts and commentary around the challenges, the good, the bad, and the ugly related to semi-nomadic living.
That's right, and if you have any questions throughout this episode, put it in the comments. You can also DM us, reach out to us through our website or Instagram, and we try so hard. We don't think we miss any. We respond to everybody because we really love helping people travel.
Today's focus is going to be around kids, right? Mostly the challenges related to this lifestyle with children. And just as a reminder, we have 3. And they are Reagan, who's 15, Brooklyn, who just turned 11, and Colt, who just turned 10. Okay, and for today's structure, we have actually created a nice little game wheel. You haven't seen it yet, have you?
I haven't seen it yet, but leave it to Phil to get techie. And instead of making a craft, you made an app.
Yeah. We've created ahead of time all of these questions related to what we want to cover today. We put them in the wheel, and now it's going to randomly pick one that we're going to cover at a time.
How cool. I can't believe you can do this stuff.
Yeah. You know, what else?
Okay.
Easy peasy. Okay, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
First one. How does Reagan really feel about our travel lifestyle? Can I answer that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
We have these for each of the 3 kids. So what's unique about Reagan, by the way, is that she's from my first marriage. We have 50-50 custody. And it's also unique in the sense that she has demanded, in a nice way, that she goes to in-person school. And that started last year, her freshman year of high school. So after COVID, she was really over the whole virtual thing. She's a very social child, and she wanted to be able to attend in person with her friends.
And COVID affects kids in all different ways. There's no wrong or right way.
Especially if they catch it.
Yes, that's not what I meant. But yes, there's no right or wrong way for a kid to have handled the pandemic, and this is,
yeah. Absolutely. But this will probably answer that question pretty well. Number one, we know that she wanted to do in-person school, and that meant she didn't want to miss any school whatsoever for our travels. So that really changed, and if you follow our channel, follow our episodes, I'm sure that you've noticed, as of about 1.5 years ago, she hardly appears in any of our videos. And the main reason for that is because that's the period of time when she said, okay, I'm getting ready to go back to in-person high school. It was still included last summer, which meant timing just didn't work out. She was with her mom quite a bit, so she wasn't even in some of those summer episodes with us. But now it's only during school holidays when we happen to have her on specific days when we have travels booked that she's gonna be in any of our episodes, or I should say, be on any of our trips with us. Even then, around that same time, due, frankly, to some feedback that she got from some of her classmates, who saw the channel, and we just mentioned some things about it, she decided she really didn't want to be on camera much, if at all.
And we want to respect that.
We do respect
that.
So, even when she's with us, we try to minimize her camera time, ask her questions, try to keep her face off of there. If we're just doing general things like walking down the street, not a big deal, but she certainly doesn't want to be any of the talent in any of the content.
It's whatever she's comfortable with, that's what you see.
So, she probably doesn't embrace the travel lifestyle as much as the rest of us because she likes to keep her trips in a lower frequency because then she said they feel more special to her. So that's pretty much how Reagan feels about the travel lifestyle. She's still, fantastic kid, great attitude when we travel. She's a lot of fun to take along. We wish that she was with us more, but like you said, we respect her wishes as far as everything goes. All right, next one. You want to push it?
I do.
All right, good. It's so fun.
Okay, what part of traveling with our kids are you embarrassed or ashamed of?
That doesn't mean like we're walking down the street and like, oh gosh, I hope nobody sees us with our kids. It's like, what part of our travel lifestyle are we embarrassed about or ashamed of, just in terms of how we execute it, how we live it, how we do it?
Yeah. That's a tough question. I feel mostly really crazy proud of them. We get so much great feedback from flight attendants, servers at restaurants about how well-mannered and great conversationalists they are, and they really are. But a part that I don't like as much is maybe how much screen time they get. It's something that we use as compensation for traveling so much, being away from their social groups half the time, and saying, well, yeah, you can be on your iPad. And also with the time differences and them adjusting to different time differences, I feel like, yep, you can stay up late, when we're in Europe and sleep in a little longer in Europe. And then they end up being on their iPads a little longer than I probably would have allowed if we didn't travel.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would second that one. And it's so much easier to just never give kids that amount of screen time than it is to give it to them and then take it away. Because now it would be like pulling teeth. It is like pulling teeth because we're pulling back on that. And another aspect is that sometimes we have work to do. A lot of times we have work to do.
All the time. Because
these aren't vacations for us. It's a travel lifestyle. So we still work. And during those times, we just kind of let them do their own thing. Sometimes they have schoolwork, so they're busy with that. But when they're not, it does sometimes feel like these trips can be just a different place, a different location for them to play on their tablets. And that's not cool. So we're working on trying to do more things like we did earlier on as a family, activities, excursions, outings, and minimizing the amount of time that we need to be on our computers or working in ways that prevent us from interacting with them to get rid of some of that. And the other thing I don't think you mentioned there is that a really big component, a big priority for us is making sure that they have good interaction time with their friends, in California or in Denver. So to help kind of ease that along, we let them spend a lot of time on chat and FaceTime with their friends. And still, I wouldn't want to limit that. The more, the better, as far as I'm concerned on that.
Yeah, it's part of their socialization.
All right, next question. Ooh, that was a close one.
It was.
How does Brooklyn really feel about our travel lifestyle?
She is right in the middle with it. I think that she really would love to do both in-person school and travel. I think she would like to travel just slightly less, but she'd love to do one trip a month. But we just keep coming up with these opportunities, and we're traveling a little more often than once a month. So she's really right there in the middle. She does tend to appreciate more of the cultural experiences where there's art involved, when there's other people involved, socializing involved. She really appreciates those experiences more. So I think we try really hard to get them really excited. And the most excited she's ever been was when we took her to Dario's restaurant in Tuscany, because we showed her Chef's Table, his episode ahead of time. And so when she saw him, she felt like this is a celebrity chef, and she was so excited. And then she loved the food, gobbled it down, most she's ever eaten in her life. And it was a really good experience for her because she had that education going into it. So that's something we want to try harder with both of them, is to prep them before our trips, to get them excited before we go, instead of taking them there and saying this is an amazing building. Tell them all about the history before, and then they can see it and live it and experience it when they're there.
I know this is true for me. Learning about something in a book or on TV ahead of time, and then getting to see it in person later, I think makes it 10 times cooler. You have some context, you have that background. So that's a great trick all around to make anyone's trip more enjoyable, I think. And with Brooklyn in particular, because we're going to Puerto Rico this weekend,
right.
And we could just show up and see all the old fort remnants and everything, and kids are going to be like, history, whatever. But we found the Puerto Rico episode of Aerial America, and we started watching that last night, and so it's just a beautiful way to get an idea of where we're about to be. And then it's just like with Dario, it's almost like you're running into a celebrity when you get there. So.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, and it's also really great on the other side of that when you've come back from experiencing a destination and you see it on TV and you feel like, I've been there, I stood right there.
I know him.
How much more does it cost to travel with kids? Good question, because it's obviously 2 times the tickets when we travel with Colt in Brooklyn.
No discounts for kids on flights.
That's right,
Double.
yeah.
And if Reagan's there, then it's more than twice.
Yeah, and I would say it doesn't affect us lodging-wise when we use Inspirato because we have the Pass program.
I would actually contradict that.
What?
Because it means that we have to find places that can sleep at least 4 or 5.
That's true.
And there are a lot of other Inspirato members who are just traveling as couples, and their selection is so much bigger, and they can travel so much more frequently because it's fewer past days that they have to spend on each one of those trips. So we, in a sense, we kind of lose out on a lot of value in Inspirato by always having to find the places that are big enough to house us all.
I wouldn't say value we missed out on. I would say just there are more places. They have more destinations for 2-person occupancy than they do for a family of 4 and more. So.
Now with food at restaurants, as a general rule, it's not going to be that much more expensive. A lot of times our kids are getting something pretty simple off of the menu, like can I have buttered pasta or whatever.
Yeah.
They're not doing cocktails most of the time. Yes, every once in a while Colt will have a sip of wine.
They don't drink cocktails at all.
But there are some places that we want to go or do go where stuff for kids is pretty expensive. Brooklyn loves steak, like at Dario's, and so if they have steak on the kids menu even, sometimes that's like $35. And then some of these restaurants, Singapore, where we wanted to go, and it was like $150 preset tasting menu with no discount for kids.
Yeah, because you had to pay per seat that you were taking. And we passed up on that one, but we are doing another restaurant that is really exciting. It is the first, I can't pronounce it, Perakini. It is the first of its cuisine to get a Michelin star, and it's supposed to be a mind-blowing experience. So really excited about it, and there's just a minimum of $50 you have to spend on each kid.
And then beyond food, let's talk about like speed round stuff here. Transportation, a lot of times we can't just get a little car, like an Uber or a taxi. Sometimes we're getting like the Mercedes Sprinter shuttle vans with all of our luggage and everything, just depends. Excursions, a lot of times can be very expensive because a lot of those are per person. We ran into this at Terranea actually, where like every single activity, it's maybe $150 or $200 to participate in this kayaking or archery or whatever it was, but multiply that by 4 or 5, and it's like every single activity on resort would have cost us like $800 to $1,000 to do, and there are like a dozen of those. So those, I mean, it became cost prohibitive for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, sometimes we pick and choose based on, prices because we have a larger travel group.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, your turn.
How do the kids maintain friendships and hobbies while traveling?
Well, we did cover the iPad
Just a
little bit. Yeah. But we do the semi-nomadic travel. So there is a home base that the kids do come back to. They have their circle of friends. They keep in touch when we're traveling, and then they come back. And Colt is on a baseball team, and he loves going to practice, loves going to games. He does miss some of those, but definitely not all. And Brooklyn does gymnastics when we're in town, and she does sewing classes and modeling.
And we really push them to get together with their friends as much as possible when we are home. Like sleepovers every day.
Yeah, every day.
Play dates every day. Sleepovers every weekend. There's almost no limit as far as we're concerned. The more the merrier.
I really feel like they get the best of all worlds by getting to travel and having the consistency of friendship base when they're home.
Yep. Yeah, go.
All right. How does Colt really feel about travel lifestyle? He loves it. Loves it, loves it, loves it. He never complains about doing virtual school, never complains about travel. He's always, the only thing that he doesn't like about traveling is he misses his geckos. He's got 2 pet geckos and he misses them, and that is the only thing he doesn't like.
He genuinely misses them. It's kind of mind-boggling because they're not cuddly or anything. He hasn't even had them that long. Dexter was right before Christmas, so we're talking like 8-9 months max, and then the other one's brand new. But yeah, he just
so attached to them.
As soon as we get home, he runs straight to them.
Yeah.
But on that note, when it comes to like reptiles and stuff, that's part of why he likes our travels so much, because almost everywhere we've gone has a lot of reptiles, amphibians, and as soon as we step out of the car onto a resort or a home, he's just gone, like
looking
in the bushes,
snakes.
in the water,
Yeah.
looking for everything. So it really suits his whole interest, kind of. So.
Yeah, and he knows geography based on snakes and lizards and amphibians. And, yeah.
So he's all about it.
It's a great education tool to learn about everything in the world and travel through lizards.
As long as he's into nature, he'll be into this lifestyle.
Yeah.
So, all right, my turn. What's the best part about traveling with kids? So even though this episode focuses on the challenges of traveling with kids, we want to throw some positivity in here because that's our thing. I think for me, it's like to give them a completely different experience and see the value that you're adding to their childhood. It's something that I didn't get to experience. You did to a certain extent, at least when you were older with your ice skating travels and everything. But for me, I did learn every single thing through books in school and never even left this continent until last year. So it's cool to just be able to see it through kids' eyes and see them experiencing these things for the first time, and to, again, really kind of interest hack our way through it to make sure that they enjoy it and they don't just feel like they're being dragged along to some boring historical location somewhere.
Right. Yeah, that's really well put. I love watching them grow up out of the box a little bit, you know, giving them different opportunities to see the world and watching them really thrive in every way. Socially, emotionally, academically, in every way, they are really thriving. And I think because their world feels bigger to them because they're exploring so many different parts of it. And there's so much to still explore.
Your turn.
What are the kids' most and least favorite places to travel?
We did touch on that for Colt already. He wants to go any place that has the most critters.
Yeah, he would say Belize is his favorite place we've been to so far because he really connected with the gardener there, Pony, that was at the resort we stayed at, and he learned so much from him.
He was his little mentor for both stays, actually, when we went to Belize.
Yeah.
And then we also did touch on what Brooklyn doesn't like, which is kind of the opposite. So she doesn't want too many of the critters, or at least the bugs.
Right.
And then she does want to go more to the places that are sophisticated, I'd say.
Yeah, like the big cities. Paris, Rome, she loves Florence.
New York. I think she even liked really, like Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Reagan, kind of all around.
Yeah.
When we started this traveling, she got scuba certified and she and I were diving every place. So she liked to go any place that had really good scuba diving. Costa Rica was her favorite. Yeah. But she also loves, you know, big fancy brands and everything like that. So take her to LA, take her to New York, any of those places, and she'll be in hog heaven.
She likes spas. But we're not spa people, so she doesn't really do the spa thing when she travels with us.
Do you ever fantasize about traveling without kids?
Yes and no. I maybe think about like some of the pros and cons with traveling with kids, and there are some, you know, cons. And so I think that'd be so much easier. We could go to this place, or we could really live up the nightlife. We could go to Mardi Gras, and you know, we can't do that with kids. But whenever we do travel without them, it doesn't feel right, you know? So.
Well, because, what are you saying? Because we are constantly thinking about them, like hope they're okay, hope the people we left them with are doing a good job, hope everybody's getting along, hope they're safe, that kind of thing.
Yes, okay. I feel like I am like away from my body when we like leave the kids for an extended period of time. I feel like I'm an anxious mom.
Well, I kind of fantasize about it. We just ran into an issue when we were in Savannah where one of the places on our itinerary ended up being 21 and older because it was a speakeasy basically. So totally logical. But things like that. There are restaurants where maybe it doesn't make a whole lot of sense or they're too expensive. There are excursions that sometimes kids aren't even allowed to do. A lot of the Inspirato experiences are kind of adults only, so there are some missed opportunities there.
To touch back on how much more expensive it is to travel with kids, I feel like we would be saving even more money when we travel just the two of us because we don't care about red eyes and odd flight times and really early morning flights or really late flights. Those don't bother us, but we don't want to disrupt the kids' lives and sleep schedules so much so that we're taking them to the airport at 1 a.m. So we won't choose flights like that. That might be cheaper options.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Go nuts. Yeah.
What is the worst part of traveling with kids? I feel like we've been talking about all of this.
It's a pretty general question.
Yeah.
And so, we've touched on a lot of it. I don't know if there's anything new that I have to add.
Nothing new. It's just the little parts. It's more expensive. It's a little bit more maintenance, like making choices on where to go and how to get there.
Stuff.
And the obvious stuff.
It's just a little bit more of a hassle sometimes.
I wouldn't trade it though.
What's our worst travel experience so far?
I know your answer.
Do you? I don't know. What's yours?
So I feel like I know what his answer is. So I'm going to say a different one.
Okay.
Well, and it's kid related in a way because when we flew to France to do our river cruise, and we got a lot of feedback on the comments saying like, you idiots, you can't, travel the same day as your departure for your cruise. And the reason we did that was because we're already leaving our kids for like 11 or 12 days.
I feel like you kind of skipped the most important part, which is that we almost missed our cruise because our flight was late.
That's
what I was saying. Oh, okay.
I was like leading.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So then the travel day didn't go as planned and we almost missed our cruise. It was literally down to the second. And they drew the drawbridge up behind us like as our feet hit the carpet on the cruise. It was so close. But the reason we did that was because we didn't want to leave the kids an additional day longer than we already were. It was already a long trip. So we took a chance. It didn't work out, but we did make the cruise in the end. It was a very nerve-wracking day for us.
It wasn't nerve-wracking for me because I can be very go with the flow with things like that. And so you know this about me. Anytime there's something bad that happens, I am like, there's that corresponding good. It's the yin and the yang. So I was like, hey, if we miss this cruise, that just means we have a week with undefined adventure and we're gonna be in Lyon, France. So
I do the
we'll
trip
get a
planning
hotel.
though. I do the trip planning. So in my head, I'm thinking if we miss this cruise, like where are we gonna stay? What about the transportation? Like all of these things would have to be figured out.
All right. Well, so mine is definitely when we were in the Exumas doing the island hopping yacht stuff for 6 days.
Yeah.
And the one day that we were going into the grotto, the current was really strong. The tide was too high. We couldn't quite get into the grotto easily. And so
this is all my fault.
No, it wasn't. We get to the cave after like swimming from the boat, and Reagan loses one of her fins. Like the current just takes it away, so we just lost a $200 scuba fin. And then it was like too hard to get under there. Turns out all of us should have been wearing life vests, and no one even thought about it because we were just living on this yacht for the entire week. And so it was like,
following
it wasn't
the captain's
second nature.
orders. Like the captain didn't mention it, so yeah.
But anyway, the current was really strong. We decided that the tide was too high to even try to swim under there, so then we had to get back, and almost nobody could swim back to the dinghy because the current was so strong. It ended up being...
Reagan did, with one fin.
Yeah. So basically, it wasn't so much that we were in a ton of danger. It's the worst travel experience for me because I feel like it was a really big faux pas on us in terms of parenting, because I don't know if we should have gotten into the water at all with that current, but we certainly should have had life vests at least on the kids. So that was a real kind of a wake-up call for me. Your turn, Mike.
My turn. Oh, one last question. We have one final question.
Do you even spin it?
I'm gonna spin it so it knows to land on it. Are you 100% confident this lifestyle is actually better for your kids? And I would say I've thought about it, and I do feel 100. I'd say I feel 99.99% confident that this lifestyle is better for our kids. I think there needs to be room to consider that it might not be, but other than that, I do have all that confidence. I just see so much growth and potential in them because of this lifestyle.
I'm probably more like 80%. I think the jury's still out, but I think a lot of the concern comes from our failures along the way so far. Meaning, like the tablets, the screen time. So there are things where we just need to do them differently. And I think the more we focus on some of these little hacks that we've talked about today, the more progress we make along those lines, the higher that number is gonna be for me. But you can't underestimate the challenge that comes along with having your kids kind of be the only ones in their circle of friends back home that can't interact with all of the same things that all of their friends are. They can't make it to every birthday party, every sleepover. They're certainly not gonna be there during class at school on any given day. And it's a really big challenge. So where that trade-off lands, I think it's very hard to say. So I almost think that nomadic would be, in a way, easier than semi-nomadic, because then your kids wouldn't have that home base group of friends that they always feel like they're missing out on. They're just like, I'm always meeting new people every single day, all around the world. That's my circle of friends. It's just global, versus always kind of having that magnetic attraction to something back at the home base.
Well, we have so many incredible trips coming up. Like we said, Brooklyn is especially excited about our trip to Paris in December. And then we have a big trip to Asia. Colt thinks he's gonna catch a monitor there. I'm not sure about that, but
The big lizard, by the way.
We're gonna play it by ear, yeah. So please stick with us and come see our travels, our journeys, and how we do it with kids. We wanna show you how we're gonna survive a 16.5-hour flight with our kids. And we really wanna take you along with us, so I hope you follow.